All right, it's Bills week. And instead of telling you happy Friday, I'm going to say a happy Thursday evening. It is just about 5 o'clock. I am fresh back from Foxborough. Like literally walked into my apartment 2-3 minutes ago because we have a guest, Derrik Klassen, the Athletic Football Show, who frankly, we should have had back sooner because the previous 2 times he's been on have been awesome. A lot of Drake Maye talk, a lot of quarterback breakdowns. And in case you missed it, the best quarterback battle of the weekend here in week 5 is Drake Maye versus Josh Allen. We're going to dive deep into Pat's Bills on Sunday night. Their first Sunday night game, by the way, in 2 years here on the totally tubular and just terrific CLNS Media Network. But first, we had some bad news from Foxborough, and we're not sure yet if Milton Williams is going to be out, but it's not a great sign when you don't practice on a Thursday after being limited on a Wednesday. Milton Williams has an ankle injury. And the guy's got 2 sacks. He's got 9 tackles, 3 quarterback hits, and a ton more pressures. That is a game changer for the Patriots, obviously, when one of your best, highest paid players might be out. And also schematically for what they're going to want to do against Josh Allen, who, again, we'll get to. The good news is K'Lavon Chaisson was back and limited today, as was Jalen Hawkins, who has a hamstring injury that he suffered against the Panthers. And Hunter Henry off the injury report, despite getting just absolutely obliterated at the goal line when he did not score a touchdown against Carolina. And because Hunter Henry is A-OK, he is on this podcast. At the end, you'll have another 4-minute drill. He was fantastic. And I will just tease this piece. He did a Drake Maye impression that I don't think Drake Maye is going to be all that thrilled about. So if you like it, subscribe to the YouTube channel @_Andrew Callahan. If you're on Apple, Spotify, leave us a review, a little rating. It's getting a little dusty over there. Just brush it off. Tell us what you think, good or bad. Or, of course, always email me, acallahan@bostonherald.com. Okay, this guy doesn't have to email me because he can DM me. He can do whatever he wants. I'm just here to learn about quarterbacks. Derrik, it's awesome to have you back. Are you as excited for Josh Allen, Drake Maye as anybody else?
I am extremely excited. We were doing our production meeting for our preview show a few hours ago, and we were talking about. I think Dave was talking about something about how Sunday night is most of the ones that you're going to get are like 2 playoff teams or like yada yada. And he said the last thing he said was sometimes you just get 2 MVP caliber quarterbacks, and I was like, I think we are getting 2 MVP caliber quarterbacks. Like I really think maybe not like this year, obviously, because I think the team still needs a little bit of help. But like I've probably said it the last time that we were on the show. Like I really think that he can be that kind of player, and he's tracking for it now.
So it's amusing to me that, as I do these Monday Night Live pods, and you might have been the first guest that we did for those like film breakdowns, what just happened. And I think it was after Drake's debut. We talked about his game against the Texans. He had the big long touchdown to Keyshawn Boutte. Patriots, as you know, have been kind of Jekyll and hiding so far this season in September. And some folks are upset that I don't know if I'm in the front of the train or I'm in the second car, but I'm definitely not in the goddamn caboose because you and I are at the front of the hype train for Drake, and Phil Perry's there, and a bunch of folks are like, you guys are down on Drake, and then you're up on Drake. I'm like, no. I am always high on Drake. I have already declared he's making the year 2 leap, but I will not go because maybe there are folks at the front of the train saying MVP maybe this season if they win, and I can't go that far. But this is going to be an outstanding matchup. The question I have for you, though, is because I don't know the answer to this, and you spend a lot more time studying Josh Allen than I have, which is basically just this week. What's the fair comparisons when we do the loose comps, right, as a draft prospect, and we talk about him now? And what's unfair? Like, what besides the age and development and caliber right now, like, where's the biggest overlap in the Venn diagram of Josh Allen and Drake Maye?
I mean, I think a lot of it to me comes down to like what they are athletically. They're just big, very explosive runners, very runners who I think are willing to take hits when they need to, which can be a little bit of you got to protect them from themselves at times. Which I think Drake Maye has actually been a little bit better about than Josh Allen certainly was in his career. And then I think at least coming out of college, they both seemed like very loose, aggressive, do some stupid stuff with the ball type of players. And I actually think that's been a lot less true quicker for Drake Maye than it was for Josh Allen. Like that took Josh Allen. I mean, even when Josh Allen started to be good in year 3, he still did a lot of that stuff. And I think that took like 5 or 6 years for him to really get that out of his game. And I think Drake Maye, every now and then you still see it at the very end of close games. Like obviously the Steelers game where he holds on to the ball a little bit too long, has a strip sack. He'll still do some of that, but he doesn't do a whole lot of that in like the middle of the second quarter, the way that I thought he might coming into the league. And so I think that has been pretty huge for him. And then I would say the other point of comparison that kind of got tied between the two especially coming out of college. Josh Allen truthfully had some of the worst footwork I've ever seen. Like it's like even into like 2 years into his career. But the issue for him was he was just overstriding all the time and he had like a really wide base. Drake Maye was kind of the opposite, where he always played really tight and like narrow, and that led to some issues for him. So with Drake Maye, because he ended up so tight, he would end up like kind of coming too high with his hand and throwing it to dirt. Josh Allen was the opposite. He'd overstride and then throw it too high.
Yes.
So there were a little bit of similarities there, but I really think that Drake Maye has taken to the don't do stupid stuff a lot faster than Josh Allen did.
Yeah, you put it well the last time we did this, and you put it so well that I remember what you said almost 12 months ago was, just that kind of YOLO ball in him that they're trying to wring out, they're trying to smooth out in his game. And I told you before we started recording, I had a little bit of a nugget for you because today, Thursday, is one of those weeks where we get to chat with the offensive assistants. And one week it's the offensive guys, the other week it's the defensive guys. And I'm writing this weekend about their development plan, which is clearly going very, very well. And I asked his quarterback coach, Ashton Grant, hey, when you got in here and you settle in with Josh, everyone's, hi, how are you? Okay, let's get to work. What's the X, Y, and Z of what we need to do with Drake to kind of get the most out of this kid? He said, first, footwork. Then it was the kind of transference up in the pocket, which is also partly just protecting the ball because he had, I don't know, 7, 8 fumbles last year. And then the last part was leadership. Leadership's boring to talk about. So, like, how much did that resonate with you with what you're seeing now kind of with him in year 2? Because it's clear as day to me, especially now that Ashton's kind of said it to me directly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that has always kind of been the thing, those first 2 things with Drake Maye. Like the leadership stuff, you just don't I would have to be in the locker room to see that type of stuff, of course. But the footwork thing, I think certainly coming out of college was going to be the thing. And for me, that always seemed like a little bit of an overblown concern. Like in the sense that it was something he needed to fix, but people talked about it like he was going to like need to be completely broken down. And I was like, he can play the way that he is. He just is going to need to get better. And for him, it was a lot of once he got out of his drop back footwork, he would just do something really weird with his feet. And like when he was moving his eyes to get to the next read, it would be a little bit discombobulated. And so I think that looked better as a rookie than I thought it would have, but probably still needed a little bit of work. And I think this year, that's part of why they've been such a high success rate offense, right? Is that he's a very good decision maker, obviously, but he's also allowing his feet to come with him on time so he can make those throws more accurately than maybe he had before. And then in terms of the protecting the ball stuff, he has, I mean, again, you even saw it in the Steelers game. He just has a tendency to like when he goes into I'm going to make a play mode, he just gets a little bit loose with the ball. And some really, again, Josh Allen has done this. Jordan Love will play like this. Even Patrick Mahomes plays like this sometimes where they just get balls a little bit away from their chest, which is, I think, for all quarterback coaches, a little bit of an ick. So if he can tune that up a little bit, we'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, and he has. Like every time, because we get to speak with Josh McDaniels every week, and naturally there are questions about Drake Maye. Tell us about your quarterback. He is so smiley. It's like he just kissed a girl for the first time all over again. Like he's glowing. He says there's nothing that surprised me about him. I know how good of a person he was and how talented he is and how hard he works and this and that. Sticking with the Allen piece though, because my guy Doug Hyde had a great piece today about where were both of these players at the 16 game check mark. And I'm going to hit pause in this before I unload a ton of stats at you. Josh Allen is a unicorn as a player, but also as a development story where he was a dumpster fire, raw prospect, height, weight, speed, arm strength guy. Year 2 was just trim the turnovers. Year 3 was the takeoff. Okay, the year 2 leap that we're all talking about that everyone does really happened for him in year 3. Famously, on a Monday night game after it was real, Bill Belichick dismissed him as an MVP candidate, and then he set Bill's 2020 defense on fire on national television. So Drake at year 2 will have to, if he wants to keep pace with Josh, make another big leap next year. Okay, I'm going to hit play again. This was Josh Allen through 16 games, again, according to my guy, Doug Hyde. 55% completion percentage, 6.6 yards per pass attempt, 13 touchdowns, 18 picks, 762 rushing yards, 11 rushing touchdowns. His passer rating, by the way, which we don't love, but was around 68. Drake Maye, same 16-point benchmark. 68.5% completion percentage. 7.1 yards per attempt. 22 touchdown passes. 12 picks. A passer rating, again, don't love, about 94. 519 rushing yards with 4 rushing touchdowns. Allen had a negative EPA per dropback. Maye is at 0.01. So just barely gets when it comes to positive EPA. Allen's QBR as a rookie was just under 50. Maye's was 55. It was 49 in his entire second season. And Maye in his first season was 55. His QBR right now, 11th in the league, is 57. So there are more numbers. Maye, bottom line, is better in a lot of them where he is at this stage. And when you go to the basic stuff right now, year 2, Drake Maye, year 7 or 8 for Josh Allen, they're neighbors. Like passing yards, touchdowns, passer rating, all of that stuff. I don't know. Like I've watched every snap of his career and a lot of Josh Allen's, and those numbers still just blow my mind.
It's kind of shocking. Like, I think part of at least why that is I think the mode of development for Josh Allen was, we know he really wants to throw the ball down the field, and we know that he's going to create outside of the pocket, and we know that he's going to be a runner. We're going to let him do all that stuff and pray that we can figure out some of the other stuff along the way. Whereas I think with Drake Maye, they've kind of taken the opposite approach of like, we're going to come in straight away and be like, no, you're going to learn how to play a little bit more controlled. You're going to be a little bit more high success rate. We're going to do all that stuff and teach you how to play quarterback like from the jump, knowing that when you need to, you can go do all the fun stuff. You can go be a creator. You can throw down the field. Because like, for as effective as the Patriots offense has been this year, they're not throwing down the field almost whatsoever, like compared to other teams in the league. Like, they are we're throwing 1 to 15 yards really, really consistently, but they're not getting chunk gains. But that to me is like, when you just have receivers you feel better about down the field, I think Maye's going to be able to do that. He was a really good deep passer in college and even at certain points last year. And so this to me is like, I really do think, again, this is a little dangerous because Josh Allen is a unicorn, and Drake Maye is talented. He's not as talented as Josh Allen, but he really is like further along in the development curve than Allen was at this point.
Yeah, I think that's indisputable. It's just a matter of, does it continue the exponential growth where you have this slow curve that's bending upward and then just shoots like almost vertically, right? Because that's what Josh Allen has been. Or is it more of a kind of a steady linear climb that just keeps going up? But right now it's higher.
I kind of think it's going to be more of a linear climb, just again, based on the way that they're developing him. Whereas with Allen, it was a lot of the keep doing the cool stuff, and we'll pray the more stable stuff comes along, and eventually it did. Whereas I think because they're building the more of a stability with Drake Maye, I think it is going to be a steady climb. But this to me is like, if it continues at this rate, I think by the end of his rookie contract, it's going to be pretty indisputable that he is like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I do have a lot of faith that he can get there.
Smart move by the Bills, right? Like, if you're going to pray to the football gods, you might as well have the painful history that the Bills do, losing 4 Super Bowls in a row. The Patriots pray to the football gods, and they go, "Are you effing kidding me?
We've given you enough."
Yeah, you are on your own. You mentioned the style of offense, or at least the A dot, right? Like how far Maye is attacking downfield, and it's an interesting point because when they're running the ball, they're seeing more stacked boxes than literally anybody in the league, and they can't get anything going. That might change against Buffalo, who is just getting just inviting people through 6 yards to carry. Who wants? Like, it's a drive-through. Just come at us. And that'll change again for Buffalo. They'll get better. They always do. But I am so curious this week if they unlock some part of that deep passing game, because as bad as Buffalo is against the run, they're just as bad against play action. Okay, just horrendous. Bottom 5 and all the big important metrics and the basic ones. And I asked Josh McDaniels about the play action today, and he gave me a nothing answer. I was like, "Hey, man, it's gone up every week. You're at 38% last week. It's an absurd number." And I don't know if that's a pillar of the offense yet. So what, whether it has to do with anything I just said, what kind of interests you about how this offense is evolving, knowing a couple of weeks here, we're going to be aware of, okay, this is the system. This is how they want to play.
I think to me, the beauty of a player like Drake Maye is that I think because of his arm talent and because of his willingness to throw down the field when he has to, you can be a play action team if you want to. But I don't think you have to be. And I consider guys like Justin Herbert kind of in the same bucket, where it's like, if you want to be an under center, chuck the ball on these deep dig routes, these deep corners, post route and stuff, like, he obviously is talented enough to do that. But also, if you need to get into 10 personnel, spread things out and just let him pick the defenses apart, he can also do that. And I think Drake Maye has that ability. So I think they have an ability to kind of game plan against whoever they're going to play against. This week, I wouldn't want to do a lot of the play action stuff, because even though the Bills might get back Ed Oliver, they might get back Matt Milano, the middle of their defense is still very bad. The safeties are some of the worst in the NFL. The linebackers, even if Matt Milano comes back, at 80% or whatever it is, I think they have struggled for a lot of this season. And then the interior pieces, you get some flashes from some of their young guys, but it's still kind of a patchwork unit up there. So I do expect that if the Patriots want it, they can find a couple of chunk plays over the middle.
Yeah, and they better. Like this is one of my favorite stats, which I used a lot 4 years ago when they're playing the Bills in December and it's a division title game and Mac Jones' rookie year and there's hope and they fall apart. And then again, don't fall apart, get blown apart in that wild card game. The stat is that since Sean McDermott was hired, the Patriots quarterbacks have had more interceptions against the Bills than touchdown passes. And that
Wow.
includes Brady, who in his last 6 games against Buffalo, 4 touchdowns and 5 picks. Another thing I keep asking Josh about, doesn't really give me straight answers, which is his prerogative. That's fine. It's a stat I wouldn't like if I was the offensive coordinator presiding over most of that tenure. Again, the last couple of years, not his fault, but it's just there's something about that scheme where, look, let's just dive in right now. Here's a breakdown. Buffalo's 4-0, one of 2 undefeated teams left. They're 13th in offense, or excuse me, they're first in offense, number 1 with a bullet, 21st on defense, 24th on special teams. The Patriots, 2-2, 13th in offense, 28th in defense, 10th in special teams. But the Bills are defensively, again, kind of figuring things out. Schematically, I think they do enough to kind of keep you off balance, but it's a disguise piece that they're very, very coordinated in what they want to do. And that is giving McDaniels issues. So we hit on the play action, we hit on the running game. Are there any other key battlegrounds or should we just keep going on those?
I mean, so the last thing I would like talk about with the run game specifically is that I do think this could be a really good game for Henderson specifically, because my issue with the Bills is that the angles their safeties take in the run game are criminal. Like the touchdown that I think it was Kamara scored last week for the Saints. Taylor Rapp has him dead to rights, and he just like takes a little bit of an angle behind him, is 2 steps too slow, and just eats the dirt. And Kamara's just gone and scores. And it's like they do stuff like that every game. I mean, we all saw it first week of the season against Baltimore, and obviously Derrick Henry is a different beast. But I really think the Buffalo is a team where if you can get a guy to the second level and give him a chance to make someone miss, the Bills guys are probably going to miss. And Travion Henderson is a good candidate to make somebody miss. So if they can just, whether it's a screen, whether it's they can do some of these perimeter runs to make these safeties fit the alley, whatever it is, I would be making those guys tackle.
It's funny how often, and you tell me how frequent this is across the league or how common, that the Patriots going from, Pittsburgh to Carolina, now Carolina to Buffalo, there are elements of their game plans, hell, even like Miami to Pittsburgh, that you can just copy and paste week to week, whether it's the motion stuff or more play action that keeps going up, and just reintroduce it because of A, you might be good at it, but B, the opposing defense is bad at it. And Buffalo, I looked up these numbers today, is not all that worse when you're involving motion in the run game or the pass game. That's just all bad. But I think the stuff that McDaniel showed last week, where you've got, the jet sweep, next snap, fake jet motion, and handoff left to Stevenson, that's the stuff, again, you talk about exploiting the second level, that they're going to dial up again and again and again, because he's just been doing is it Steven Ruiz who has the Kyle Shanahan meme with the microscope?
The microscope, yeah.
So good. And then you just look at the bottom of the microscope, and there's the headshot of whatever next poor linebacker has to face the 49ers. That's been Josh McDaniels. Like, come on down, Patrick Queen, GJ Johnson, who just got cut by the Panthers. You are under the microscope, and that'll be the Bills here now. So I think Henderson's a great point, because that speed on the edge is so different than Stevenson, who will break some tackles, but like he's not going to the house if he gets free.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, even that like is kind of a nice blend for them, because I do think Stevenson, like if he meets Terrell Bernard in the hole, Terrell Bernard is like not necessarily built to take Stevenson down by himself. He's more of like a run through, hope that he can build up ahead of steam type of player. And so I actually do have some degree of faith that even though the Pats offensive line and run game has been a little bit up and down, I think this is a game that they can get enough going. And even to the point of like all the disguise stuff, I know maybe once a game Drake Maye can get fooled by that because he's still a little bit of a young player, but I actually think that with how well they've constructed the passing offense to be more of a 1 to 15 yard operation, where I think you're generally inviting less ability to even get hit with the disguise stuff. Because usually when you get beat by a disguise defense, it's you're trying to throw 20 yards down the field and you didn't think this safety was rotating, or you didn't think this corner was actually playing in the flat, or just something like that. And I think if they're going to be more of a, we're just going to win this thing 6 yards at a time operation, I think they can actually be okay and not have to deal with that.
Yeah, and that would complement the ball control, right? Like if you want to pound the rock in addition to just throw it 6 yards, either way, you're taking up a lot of time.
Yep.
Yeah. We haven't talked about the offensive line, because that, of course, is going to play a big role in whether the Patriots do run the ball against a defense that is, again, it's just drive-through mode right now. And Joey Bosa, it looks like will be back, and he's not been, it's been more boom or bust as you have a lot of edge rushers who are at his age. A bunch of forced fumbles, some bad run defense. Ed Oliver could return. And Jared Wolfson, their rookie left guard, is going to be in there. And you talk about boom or bust. Like that dude has had in first 3 games, no pressures allowed, good run blocking, and then just gets his pants taken down in the openers. You'd expect, again, from a rookie making his first career start. I don't know much more what to say than I'm just not sure how that's going to go. But if Ed Oliver is back and is such a problem for them, that's going to probably change their ability to run the ball and then call those play action throws and put more on Maye's shoulders to pew, pew, pew his way downfield, which he very well could, but also just invites the trouble that happens like in Pittsburgh when he has to throw so many times and then that one mistake happens in the fourth quarter. That to me is where you should feel good if you're the Patriots, but there are a couple battlegrounds that I go, that could be dangerous.
Yeah, for me, Ed Oliver being back, assuming he plays like relatively healthy and looks good, the difference to me is I don't think that will stop the Patriots' ability to get 5 and 6 yards consistently, but there will be 2 drives in this game where he puts you in 2nd and 13 because he gets into the backfield. Because that's just the kind of player that he is, where if you get 4 hands on him, sometimes you're going to move him and have an efficient gain. But if you try to one-on-one him and he like backdoors a block or something, he's going to set you behind the sticks. And I have enough faith that Drake Maye is not going to do something stupid when he gets set into 2nd and 13, and they've got enough decent answers. But if Oliver plays well, there he will make the offense a little bit more herky-jerky in that sense.
Last one here. It's Stefon Diggs week, and we have not mentioned him in the first 21 minutes of the podcast. And I've talked about him because it's my job. What do you see from him, and what role does he play in this game, do you think?
So I think obviously when we think of what Stefon Diggs was at his peak, it was outside receiver, very vertical guy, incredibly explosive, could go up and get the ball. I think what we've seen more from him actually is now is like him and May really trying to find their chemistry, like of him being more of a middle of the field player, sitting in zones, trying to find like where's the comfy spot between the numbers and the hash and learning all of that. And I think May is a player who is very willing to trust that his receivers are going to make the right play there. And I think there were a couple of moments early on in the season where I think him and Diggs were a little bit off, but I think as they've been able to play more together, you've actually been seeing them develop that a little bit more. I also think they've realized that in terms of if they want to hit some of those deeper crossing routes, Diggs is probably their best option for doing some of that. So I think by the time this thing gets to like late October, November, there's going to be a really nice marriage there, but there's still a little bit of like the feeling out period. But I think it's definitely starting to look better.
Yeah. Question for you. Do you think Drake Maye is going to throw a touchdown pass on Sunday?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Despite what you said about the Bills, touchdown and interceptions numbers against the Patriots, I do have faith.
Isn't that stat a little nuts though? Like
it is crazy. It is crazy.
Over 7-8 years. The reason I asked you is because we have good friends here at Prizepicks who support the podcast, support the CLNS Media Network. And right now, if you've never played Prizepicks, they will give you $50 5-0 in lineups if you play your first $5 lineup. And lucky you, listening to this podcast, that you can take my suggestion of Drake Maye more than half a touchdown pass. Derek thinks he's going to throw one. I think he's going to throw one. You lock that in as part of your lineup, and then I'll give you another one. James Cook is probably going to score a touchdown against his Patriots defense, rushing or receiving. So if he gets a touchdown and Drake Maye throws one, boom, that's a whole lineup. Because the way it works at Prizepicks, there's no team totals and this and that and all the complicated whatever. You just pick the players you like, the stats you like. You go more than, you go less than. I've played this. We talked about it plenty of times. I might be doing it with a baseball game a little bit later tonight. But you only get those $50 if you sign up today for America's #1 fantasy sports place to win money as you win real cash watching sports. So download the app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, it's good to be right. All right. Defensively, this is a game where I think the Patriots could go one of two ways. You could dabble in trying to fool Josh Allen and just really bank on kind of the new wrinkles or things you haven't shown as you're building out your scheme to, help you out. Or you just say, look, we're going to line up. Christian Gonzalez has knocked some rust off. Carlton Davis is on the other side, and we're going to play some man coverage, and we're going to see how this goes and load the box. And either way invites a ton of danger just because that's how good Josh Allen is. Not going to fool him consistently, and he'll throw against man coverage or run against it. Which do you think is more likely when they approach this whole Buffalo offense, which, as we said at the top, is the best in the league, thanks to Allen? Oh, and by the way, the best rushing offense in football.
Yeah, so when Allen has a day, he's the scariest person in the league against man coverage. That being said, I actually think he's become a very, very, very good passer against zone coverage in terms of getting the ball out quickly and not wasting time and making sure he's going to the right spot. That I think between that and how well they run the ball, they have become very comfortable just being a 5 yards at a time type of team. And they're really, really good at it when they want to be. So I honestly would challenge these receivers in a little bit more man coverage. Let Christian Gonzalez just go punk somebody. Let Carlton Davis do what he's going to do. And I would, to the best of their abilities, use the pass rush as less of like a penetrating, create chaos unit and more just like choke the pocket a little bit. And that's where I think like a player like Keon White could come in, where he's not going to be a freak bending around the edge, but he's going to try to run through a guard or a tackle's inside shoulder and really just kind of make the pocket a little bit more claustrophobic. Because I think if you let Allen outside of the pocket, especially against man coverage, that's where he's going to beat you.
So I smiled when you brought up Keon White because, speaking of discipline and taking things in short increments, I've said many times I am out of the Keon White prediction business. I think he's supremely talented. And then I watch him lose 3 edges against the run, coming off of the bench against Carolina. I'm just going, you can't do that. Can't do that. You're on the wrong shoulder. You're ducking inside. You can't freelance. But to your point about, again, someone who could just kind of help collapse, choke the pocket. And they brought him back as an interior rusher against the Panthers, who, by the way, copying and pasting parts of the game plan. That's what they did against Bryce Young, who anatomically could not be any more different from Josh Allen. But the point about just keep the dude in the pocket and let's not go nuts. 1 sack is fine so long as we have 14 other pressures, which is exactly what they did against a very different offensive line. I think is a good one. I think there is an element of trying to play straight up and maybe a little bit more man coverage on early downs than you would otherwise, understanding that's when they want to hit you and get some basic stuff. 3rd down, I think, is when it's fine to spin the dial because that is when you could play the more high variance. Okay, you might hit us over the top because we busted a coverage. But the other side of that is we get a pick. And that turnover for a team that has not lost the turnover battle in 26 straight games, an NFL record, is massive, bigger than any other type of turnover against any other team. And so I struggle there because you also have an issue at safety where the Patriots will put their safeties against slots and man coverage. And Kyle Duggar might be that safety if Jalen Hawkins is not recovered. So there's no great answers, but I do hope they lean into more of what I've called like the defensive dark arts stuff, on 3rd down. Like show me something new. Show Josh Allen something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be interesting too. And I know you mentioned at the top of the show, Milton Williams might not be playing. That I think would be a massive issue because I do think like you want to disrupt this Bills running game by kind of playing the variance game and getting into the backfield. Like if you just try to play we're going to be bigger than stronger than you. No, you're not. Like this offensive line and tight end room will kick your behind. And I just think you really need a guy like Milton Williams, who if you get 4 hands on him, yeah, you can move him. But if you let him backdoor block, he's probably going to get into the backfield and be 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So
yeah, 5 yards also about what James Cook is averaging every time he takes the ball. He's got over 400 yards. He's got 5 touchdowns. He's running behind Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown's limited, but like big, giant, kick your ass type of tackles. And that offensive line piece, in addition to Josh Allen, is also just a matchup you look at if you're the Patriots and say, we like Christian Barmore. We love Milton Williams. K'Lavon Chaisson, my guy. 2 thumbs up so far this year.
He's been way better than I thought, by the way.
Oh
he's
my
been
God.
like actually useful.
I grant myself 1 guy in training camp per year. And look, Kyrus Tonga made, a guy who might replace Milton Williams, a hard charge at that. But I cannot let go of Chaisson. And I'm so glad I did not because he's been awesome since the summer. But anyway, the offensive line's a big problem. Like they're number 1 running the ball as much as James Cook is a budding superstar. Is their offensive line is just going to come kick your ass. And in addition to that, you mentioned the tight ends. They're up among the league leaders in 13 personnel and 22 personnel. And we're just going to line up and hit you in the mouth. And the Patriots don't want to play at a base. They will. They did against the Steelers a little bit in week 3, another offense that majors in 13. It just puts them in a spot where I don't want to play 5-2 against Josh Allen, knowing if he gets to the second level, I've only got 4 guys left who are as fast as he is. And if they're out of position, he's gone.
And if you're in like more of your base looks, you're probably in more vanilla coverages, which at this stage in Josh Allen's career is like, that's playground light work stuff for him. He doesn't even care about any of that.
Yeah. Where else do you expect the Bills to attack? Again, a bottom 5 defense right now by DVOA, because this is, we talk about McDaniels will have options. You could do this, you could do that. The Bills are like, man, the whole freaking menu front and back. We've invented our own specials menu. Like that's what we can do.
I would expect it to be probably the linebackers in coverage as much as they can, and also just kind of testing their eyes a little bit. Because I think like Spillane is a good player when you know he's going to be moving forward, but if you kind of fool him around a little bit with some motion stuff, or you're bumping the running back out with a shift, stuff like that, I think he can be a little bit up and down. And so I think asking those guys to really be disciplined on boots and again on like some motion stuff where you run mesh where they've got to see two guys crossing across their face, like just certain stuff like that. I think that could be a little bit of an issue for them, and especially if in the passing game they can get the ball to like James Cook, where I think he can make those guys miss in space. So I would expect them to target probably that second level.
Yeah, and the Patriots only had 7 missed tackles last week, which was reason to celebrate if you're if you're the Patriots defense right now. And that'll
I,
smooth out.
the
Go ahead.
Vrabel quote, by the way, where I think it was maybe after week 2, they were like, "Man, you guys are missing a lot of tackles." He was like, "Yeah, but we don't give up big plays after the missed tackles." I was like, "That might be true, but that's still bad process to be having that many missed tackles."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, you keep getting in car accidents. Yeah, but like my
I didn't
insurance isn't
die.
going up that much, you know? Like, um, yeah, it's look, the 7 tackles is fine. I think that will get better before anyone jumps about like, me skewering the Patriots defense. The numbers just are what they are. And even in that game against the Panthers when they tackled better, and the Patriots subbed out Christian Ellis, who is offender number 1 next to Robert Spillane, and super athletic and incredibly fit, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in Patriots locker room. They put in Jack Gibbons, and then the Panthers take out their own microscope and go, "Oh, we're going to throw to Chuba Hubbard as soon as we can get him one-on-one with Gibbons, who's just not as athletic." And
Mhm.
again, there's always a trade-off here, but that piece I think is a really good point, which is to say, when you take Kyle Duggar and Craig Woodson, probably maybe Jalen Hawkins will play, I don't know, plus those inside linebackers, the middle of the field is the biggest battleground here, which is true for a lot of games. But the Patriots need that to be a draw at worst, I think, if they're going to survive, even if this is a shootout, because whether they're motioning those linebackers out or attacking the slot with those safeties coming down, if they're going to play a ton of man, there's no option the way they're built. That's where the Bills are going to go.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And honestly, part of the reason I like them playing man is like some of the one robber stuff they've done this year where they kind of just say, they tell the safeties like, "Hey man, they've got trips to this side. Just play the crosser coming back to you and drive on it. Like you might be wrong, it might look ugly, like just go." I think them simplifying their job a little bit has actually like led to some good results in certain spots.
Let me ask you about this then too, because with the one Robert stuff, I tweeted this out Monday and brought it up on our Monday live show. The rules when teams will motion that way, it actually went from 2x2 over to trips. And or excuse me, yeah, it was 2x2. Christian Gonzalez is the furthest outside corner to the right. Okay. So they bring a
Mhm.
receiver from the defense's left all the way over. And the rules say bump, because if that receiver from the right goes all the way furthest and becomes the number 1 on the left, we're not going to have our guy chase all the way over. Okay. You keep your
Mhm.
disguise intact, you keep your leverage, but that gives a clever offensive coordinator, of which I would include Joe Brady, a chance to be like, "Oh, those are your rules. I don't want
Mhm.
Christian Gonzalez on Keon Coleman or Khalil Shakir. I'll just have the same motion." Like it's not a concern for me, but it's something I've got my eye on and have now brought up twice in 2 podcasts. Is that anything to you? Is that something you would be mindful of?
I probably would, and like what's kind of frustrating to that point is that some of the times that they've done that is part of what I loved with Carlton Davis actually last year was I thought when teams tried to play like bunch stuff and really mess with like all the traffic of like bunches and trips and stuff like that against man coverage, I don't think anyone in the league sorted that stuff out better than Carlton Davis. And I think Christian Gonzalez is also very capable of that. So I would kind of just let these guys run with stuff a little bit more, and maybe they saw in camp that they just weren't as comfortable with that and were more comfortable with bumping and wanted to keep some of their disguise stuff. But in my mind, you have Christian Gonzalez and sign Carlton Davis so that you can kind of just let guys run with guys and do that. And so that's kind of how I would want to play it moving
Yeah,
forward.
I'm with you. I think, if this was Christian Gonzalez's debut, and granted they let him play the third most defensive snaps, like, "Hey, welcome back. We needed you and you're playing all of this." Maybe you do bump a little bit more, but this is like, look, even if it's full field and it's cheap motion, like you just got to go. Like you're
Mhm.
23, you're a freak athlete. You can keep up with them because we want to keep the matchups as we choose them, not the ones that we let the offense dictate. Here's the funny thing though. Let's say they play more man coverage like we expected. Carlton Davis balls out. We'll give Christian Gonzalez a pick. Good for you, Christian Gonzalez. The Bills have so many other places to go where they've got 5 guys with double-digit catches, 4 over 100 yards receiving. Like what Josh Allen said the other week, this is truly an everybody eats offense. it's not that they're all elite weapons. It's just he's going to know where to go and where to throw more often than anyone. And he's comfortable finally doing that, that he's not locked in and an elite Stefon Diggs, that the Patriots could execute their game plan reasonably and still lose this game.
Yeah, this is again, it's so funny talking about Josh Allen this way, whereas early in his career he was the just like he's just gonna do some stuff and it's gonna work out type of guy. Whereas now I really think he is like it's almost like watching what if Drew Brees was a superhuman. Like he really does operate that way in the pocket. And again, they don't have any elite weapons, but when you have, in theory, 5 receivers on any given play, because even if you go down to their third tight end, like Jackson Hawes is not a bad pass catcher. It's just the two
No.
guys ahead of him right now are better. You have multiple good pass catching backs with James Cook and Ty Johnson, obviously, and then your receiving core like Shakir is good. Keon Coleman is what he is, but he's a fine like outside can catch you 3 or 4 passes as kind of like a bully ball receiver. Josh Palmer, when he's healthy, can do some of that stuff for them. Like they just on any given play, Allen feels comfortable having 4 and 5 guys out in the route and just knowing I can get there. And he's as good as that right now as anyone in the league. And then, oh yeah, if he needs to pull the oh shit button, he can do that.
Yeah. As a rookie was like a drunk dude with a bazooka. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
just he didn't know how far it was going to go if he could aim it right. And now he's sobered up and he's gotten this elite training and he's a Navy SEAL. And there's just like you're not going to out tough that guy. You're not going to outplay. You just hope that you can kind of have him to a draw. Speaking of drunk people, and this is going to come around. First Bills game I ever went to was 2009, and it was just before Christmas. You had a lot of people in Santa outfits, and I watched one particular Santa get dragged out of the stadium, and those tickets were cheap because they were before Christmas. But I saw the Patriots win what was then their first road win in 2009, a season they go 10-6, and everyone here was melting down. But granted, I was one of the people melting down. My point is, if you ever want to go to Buffalo in Christmas, or maybe this Sunday, to watch a drunk Santa get carried out or Josh Allen do his thing, there's one place to go. It's Gametime, where they have the lowest price guarantee of any secondary ticket marketplace. You go, you see the tickets, you can click your seat view, and that's it. And here's the thing. If you bother to search and surf other secondary ticket marketplaces and find a lower ticket, just call Gametime and tell them, because they'll give you 110% of the difference back because they didn't have the lowest price with their lowest price guarantee. I've gotten tickets to Red Sox games, Celtics games, you name it. If you go for NFL tickets, you'll find them as low as $100, maybe even a little bit lower. So don't waste any more time. Download the app today. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets at Gametime. Create an account. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Create an account. Redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. We got one thing left to do, and that is make some game picks. Who you got?
I still think I have the Bills, but the line in this game I think is what, 8.5?
Yeah.
I kind of think the Patriots do cover. I think they make it a game. And I know some of their success and like, especially the offensive numbers have been driven by playing a lot of bad teams and bad defenses, but like this Bills defense is not that good. And if I have this much faith in the quarterback and even just the construction of the offense, which I do, I think that they can put together a pretty reasonable game. So unless the Bills score 40, which I guess at any given point they can do against most defenses, I really do think it'll be a pretty competitive game, even if I still give them the slight edge in the end.
I do too. I have 34-30 Bills, and I've gone back and forth on this. I think you could have like the backdoor touchdown from the Patriots. You can get one late, and initially had it, 30-23, but then that means they're kind of stalling out in the red zone. And Todd Downing, shout out our guy Nate Tice, who was on a couple of weeks ago, says, hey, wherever he's been, Todd Downing's like red zone puppet master a little bit, which you have to win there if you're an underdog. I think they win there often enough, but whether it's a mix extra point from this being 34-31 because you got a rookie kicker, I don't know. There's just a lot of ways to get there. And I think that's where it ends, where I wrote today, this is a moral victory game if you play well enough. And I think that's how they leave, feeling like, okay, we should have won, but we know we can hang with them. We get them one more time. And we get a lot of points, man. Anyone, I don't know what the over under is or whatever. Just take a lot of the more thans over at Prizepicks. There could be so many points in this football game. I can't wait because I have not been able to say that about a Patriots football game, and I don't know how long, confidently, I should say.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm so glad you mentioned the just like the idea that this could be a game that even if you just play well and lose, you can feel good about it. That's honestly how I felt about the Colts Rams game last week, where it was like, okay, how much of this Colts stuff is real? But I was like, if you can play a one-score game against the Rams, like a Super Bowl team, okay, I'm probably going to feel pretty good about you for the rest of the year. And so if the Patriots can do that for their version of this, an undefeated Bills team, I'd feel pretty good.
And there's always this small subsection of population, especially up here, right? Title towns, city of champions. There's no moral victories. You got to win. Only wins are winning. I'm like, man, Mike Vrabel said it. Right after the Panthers game said, hopefully we'll see where we're at. Okay, that sentence did not start with we're going to go in there and play a good game. It was hopefully. And it's not that we're going to win. We'll see where we're at. Drake Maye goes, this game is a gauge for us. And the more people understand that September is just this wild roller coaster, whatever you saw last is not going to happen this Sunday. And when you get into October, that's when teams kind of declare themselves. They're still gathering intel on themselves and their other teams and how good they are and where they're going to stack up. If the Patriots are close this week, that is a win. You don't get to say that the rest of the season. You get one. You get one moral victory a season. This is it, I think, for the Patriots. Granted, they could also lose 40-3. I don't know. But I don't know. I got faith. And I think we got good reason to. I think we laid it all out.
Yep.
My man. All right. What do you got coming up? Where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at QB Class, mostly on Blue Sky these days. And then obviously in the podcast feed, we've got really episodes every day. I'm on 3 of them. Obviously the Sunday show, Thursday previews, and then me and Robert on Tuesdays do our hangover show of games that we maybe didn't find interesting enough to talk about on Sundays, but still wanted to give the time to talk about, which we've learned the Saints are like going to be the team of the year for that show, which I kind of, as a Spencer Rattler enjoyer, I'm kind of okay with that. But so yeah, that's what I've got.
It's such a great concept, the hangover show. Just yeah. Oh, by the way, this happened, and we got to get to it. You got to have Nick Underhill is going to be on the show next week to do some Saints, man. He's so good down there, and I don't know. It's just that team. He left miserable up here. The Patriots were miserable, granted at 8-0, and left the Athletic actually to go start his own site. And my man has been killing it down there. The Saints, however, have not. They've been a dumpster fire in every respect. I'm just like, I need them to win for him. All right. This was awesome. It's been so good to have you back. We'll have you back much sooner than we did last time. And yeah, anytime we can talk Drake Maye, it's a good time, my man.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right, here with the best looking, hardest working, smartest Patriot, because Hunter Henry, tight end for the New England Patriots, has forgiven our scheduling snafu from last week when he was supposed to be on the show, but he's back here now. You've done this before, so we have leveled up our questions from last year. I think you were the first person to do this. Do you remember anything about it?
Briefly.
Yeah.
A lot of the days run together, but yes.
Yes, he just did an interview, so he does a lot of this stuff. All right, but we're coming at you with these 4 minutes. You ready?
Okay.
Of course, everyone knows the rule. The one rule in this 4-minute drill is you can't run out the clock, which, of course, is the goal on Sundays, but this is not Sunday, so that's not what we're doing. Clock starts right now. So you're known as Patriots tight end. I would call you as a all-pro schmoozer of young quarterbacks. Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, Drake Maye, he becomes friends with them. You were neighbors with one. You play ping pong with them. What would be your best advice to a young tight end who wants to romance his quarterback?
That's a good question. I think it's just be yourself, man. Try to build a relationship. I mean, that's honestly one of the most important position on the field for us. And so just try to cultivate that relationship as much as you can because, some of that off-the-field stuff can translate to on the field.
What TV shows are you watching?
We're actually watching like Wayward or something on Netflix. We just started it. Pretty interesting, a little weird and dark, but interesting one.
Is that your call or her call?
It was more my wife's, but I'm honestly kind of into it. So.
All right, cool. Cage match. You enter. So does Coach Vrabel. Who wins?
Braves is a little crazy, so I'm probably going to take Braves.
All right, fill in the blank. I am man enough to admit that facing blank in coverage is just a bear. I don't like it.
Facing someone in
coverage?
Probably Derwin James is a matchup that's always hard. I got to go against him at practice a lot, and he's a guy that always made you better.
Safe answer. Old teammate. No fun. You're a young dad. Are you good cop or bad cop at home?
Sometimes in football season I'm a little bit more bad cop because obviously I'm not as home as much, so I kind of have to be bad cop. But off season I'm sometimes a little bit more good cop.
Okay, I like it. It's a better balance, more honesty.
Yeah.
Pick one quick impression. Drake Maye or Josh McDaniels? Go.
Probably Drake Maye. You just get that country accent like, come on, man. Come on, man. Get up in there and come on, man. A little country accent to it.
Drake 10 minutes ago told me you wouldn't do it. I'm so glad you delivered. This is awesome. Maybe he'll get a shot to do this again here. Drake once told you were on his first ever fantasy team. How much did you hate him in that moment?
Yeah, these guys coming in the league, it's pretty crazy now that I'm on the other side of it, that I'm on the older side. It makes me feel old.
Yeah. What was the worst date you ever went on?
Ooh, honestly, I love my wife. It was like a kind of a great date. Our first one, we were so young. Like I was like 19 years old, and she was like 18. But it was just a little awkward, you know. It was just awkward. We were trying to fill everything out, and so not the worst date, but
What'd you do?
One, we went to go eat. We did like a picnic in the park, and then a homeless man walked up on us. It was just it didn't go as smooth as I wanted to, but in the end, hey, it worked out. So we're still together.
It's a relationship test right there. All right, you were very good in press conferences. The team trusts you. PR trusts you to say the safe thing, the right thing. Let's pretend I just asked you about the challenge of facing this faceless defense. Doesn't exist. Okay, what's the challenge of playing them? Not Buffalo, but your job is to say the right and safe thing. How do you give that answer? Tell me about the challenge of playing this defense.
I think they just got a lot of talent at all three levels, and they fly around. They play together. You know, they're always in the right spot, and that presents a big challenge. But they throw different looks at you that really you have to be ready for it all. Damn,
Challenging. What's the most dad thing about you right now? Are you printing out MapQuest directions? Are you psyched about parking?
Honestly, Morgan Moses has been calling me out for maybe some of my fits. I have some dad fits. I think it's like a stylish dad fits. So maybe my fits.
He would know. He's got, what, 3 kids, 4 kids?
Yeah, he's got some kids too. But.
Speaking of dads raising young kids, are you worried David Andrews will never stop posting about golf?
Oh, dude, he loves golf, and I don't blame him because I love it too. I just don't have the time as much as he does now.
All right, we only got 10 more seconds. I'd like to go to overtime. You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Teammate you most want to have your back in a dangerous situation?
Dangerous situation. Probably Barmore.
Wow. 2 for 2 for Barmore on that answer.
Yeah.
Okay, teammate you least want to have your back in that situation?
Oh, that is tough. Love Pop, but probably Pop is up there. Just, you know, I think he would for sure be there, but, you know, it just depends on the situation. If it's, you know, the size thing, I think is a
unless he can laugh, make people laugh to settle the situation down. It's a tough one. You're a godly man. You're open about this. Why does God give Jets fans his toughest battles always?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that answer. I think he gives battles to everybody in their own right.
All right, last one. Who should we interview next and why?
Go keep it in the room. Go Austin Hooper because he's got an interesting mind, and I think he would have some good answers maybe.
That sounds like saying your date had a good personality and then you didn't show up again because you had a homeless man ruin your picnic. But we will check in with Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, time 2. This was fun, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.